Greenland. Are we on the edge of conflict in the next 48 hours? Part 1. Greenland. An overview. Geography and size. Greenland is the largest island in the world, covering more than 2.1 million square kilometers. It is located between the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans, to the northeast of Canada. Although Greenland is politically linked to Europe through Denmark, it is geographically part of North America. The island's coastline stretches for over 44,000 kilometers, with thousands of fjords, bays, and glaciers. The interior is covered by the Greenland ice sheet, which contains about 8% of the world's freshwater. Population and culture. Greenland has a small population of roughly 56,000 people. Most residents live along the west coast, where the climate is milder and the sea provides food and transportation. The majority of the population are Inuit, descendants of the original Arctic peoples who have lived in Greenland for thousands of years. Inuit culture emphasizes community, survival skills, and a close relationship with nature. Political status. Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. It manages internal affairs such as healthcare, education, and natural resources. Denmark remains responsible for defense and foreign policy. Greenland has its own parliament, called the Inatsisartut, and its own government. Over the last few decades, autonomy has expanded, reflecting Greenland's gradual movement towards self-determination. Part 2. History of Greenland. Early inhabitants. The first humans arrived in Greenland around 2500 before Christ. These were Paleo-Eskimo cultures, followed by the Sakak people around 2400 before Christ. By around 980, Norse settlers from Iceland arrived, led by Eric the Red. They established colonies on Greenland's southern coast, farming and raising livestock in the challenging Arctic environment. Norse colonies and decline. The Norse settlements lasted for several centuries, but gradually disappeared. Historians suggest a combination of climate cooling, trade isolation, and conflicts with Inuit populations contributed to their decline. Danish colonization. In the 18th century, Denmark re-established control over Greenland. Missionaries and traders gradually developed settlements along the west coast. In 1721, Danish-Norwegian missionary Hans Egede arrived, marking the start of Danish influence. In 1776, Greenland formally became a Danish colony. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, Greenland remained largely isolated, with limited infrastructure and contact with the outside world. Twentieth century developments. During World War II, Greenland became strategically important. Denmark was occupied by Germany in 1940, and the United States took responsibility for defending Greenland. In 1941, United States established air bases in Greenland, securing the Atlantic against German forces. After the war, Greenland returned to Danish administration. The Cold War further increased Greenland's strategic importance. In 1951, the United States and Denmark signed a defense agreement, establishing Thule Air Base, now Pituffik Space Base. Home rule and self-government. In 1979, Greenland gained home rule, allowing greater internal governance. In 2009, expanded self-government was introduced, giving Greenland control over natural resources and certain areas of law. These developments reflect Greenland's gradual movement toward potential independence, while still maintaining ties with Denmark. Part 3. Strategic importance of Greenland. Geographic significance. Greenland occupies a central location between North America and Europe. It is strategically positioned for Arctic air and sea routes, making it important for global transportation and military operations. During the Cold War, Greenland hosted key early warning radar stations to detect potential missile attacks from the Soviet Union. Military presence. The United States operates Pituffik Space Base in northern Greenland. The base monitors missiles, satellites, and space debris. Strategically, Greenland allows the United States and its allies to maintain influence over the Arctic region. Natural resources. Beneath the ice sheet, Greenland contains rich deposits of minerals, oil, and gas. These resources are increasingly accessible due to melting ice and improved technology. Rare earth elements, in particular, are essential for modern electronics and renewable energy systems. Access to these resources enhances Greenland's global significance. Arctic ice melt is opening new shipping lanes, such as the Northwest Passage. These routes shorten travel between Asia, Europe, and North America, increasing Greenland's economic and strategic value. Greenland crisis. The United States, under the second Trump administration, has pursued threats to annex Greenland, an autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, itself part of the European Union, triggering an international crisis. This escalated in early 2026 after Trump previously made several comments threatening the use of tariffs and military force unless Denmark ceded Greenland, which he later called off on January 21st. The comments sparked a confrontation pitting the United States against Greenland and Denmark, supported by the rest of the European Union, EU, and several other NATO members, and reignited concerns about a potential US-EU trade war. The response from Greenland and Denmark was immediate and unequivocal. Greenland's leaders made it clear that the island was not for sale. They emphasized Greenland's right to self-determination and political autonomy. Denmark's Prime Minister publicly dismissed the proposal, calling it absurd. The statement reinforced Denmark's position that Greenland is an integral part of the Danish kingdom, not a commodity. Despite the firm rejection, the episode had a lasting effect. It placed Greenland at the center of a global conversation about the Arctic, sovereignty, and power. What had once been considered a remote and peripheral region was now openly discussed as a strategic asset. From a strategic perspective, the United States has long viewed Greenland as essential to its national security. Its location makes it a critical site for missile defense systems, satellite monitoring, and early warning capabilities. The US military presence in northern Greenland reflects decades of strategic planning. In addition, Greenland's natural resources and its role in emerging Arctic shipping routes add to its significance. Trump's proposal, while unconventional, brought these long-standing interests into the public eye. It transformed quiet strategic calculations into a global political debate. Why Trump wants Greenland. Donald Trump's interest in Greenland surprised many people, but it was not without strategic reasoning. Greenland holds a key geographic position between North America and Europe. Its location makes it crucial for Arctic air routes, missile detection, and military surveillance. The United States already operates a major military base there, reflecting long-standing security interests. Climate change has also increased Greenland's importance. As Arctic ice melts, new shipping routes and access to natural resources are becoming possible. Greenland contains valuable minerals, including rare earth elements essential for modern technology and defense systems. Trump also expressed concern about growing influence from other global powers, particularly Russia and China, in the Arctic region. From this perspective, securing Greenland was seen as a way to protect US strategic dominance in the high north. While the proposal to purchase Greenland was rejected and widely criticized, it brought renewed global attention to the island's geopolitical value. In essence, Trump's interest in Greenland was driven by a combination of military strategy, resource access, and great power competition. How Europe could defend Greenland. Legal and diplomatic foundations. Denmark holds legal sovereignty over Greenland. Any European response to external pressure would begin with international law and diplomacy. Europe's primary tools are legitimacy, alliances, and collective decision-making. Diplomatic engagement would be the first line of defense. Military action would remain a last resort. European states prioritize stability, dialogue, and adherence to international norms. NATO coordination and collective defense. NATO would play a central role in any defense strategy involving Greenland. Coordination among member states, political unity, and clear communication would serve as deterrents. The goal would not be escalation, but prevention. A unified response sends a message that Greenland's status cannot be altered through pressure or unilateral action. Strategic focus and long-term stability. Europe's approach emphasizes deterrence without provocation. Defending Greenland is not only about territory, it is about preserving international rules, sovereignty, and alliance credibility. In this sense, Greenland represents a test case for how Europe manages emerging geopolitical pressure. Are we on the edge of conflict? Despite dramatic headlines and political tension, the likelihood of a military conflict over Greenland remains extremely low. All parties involved are aware of the consequences of escalation. Economic interdependence, diplomatic costs, and global instability act as powerful deterrents. War would benefit no one. Greenland represents more than land and ice. It reflects the transformation of the Arctic. Climate change is reshaping geography, access, and strategic priorities. As ice retreats, competition grows, not necessarily for territory, but for influence. The most likely conflicts surrounding Greenland will be diplomatic and economic, not military. Negotiations, investments, and political influence will shape its future. The Arctic, and Greenland in particular, will play an increasingly important role in global power structures. Conflict in the next 48 hours? In recent days, Greenland has again entered the center of global political debate. Donald Trump has renewed his focus on the island, arguing that Greenland is vital for US national security and Arctic dominance. His statements emphasize military positioning, missile defense, and limiting the influence of rival powers such as Russia and China. While the rhetoric is strong, it reflects long-standing strategic interests rather than a sudden shift in policy. International response. Greenland and Denmark have firmly rejected any suggestion of external control. European leaders and NATO officials have stressed sovereignty, international law, and alliance unity. Diplomatic channels remain active, and military escalation is not being signaled by any official actor. Instead, the response is focused on reassurance, coordination, and preventing misunderstandings that could escalate tensions unnecessarily. Conclusion. Greenland represents a future challenge, not an immediate battlefield. Trump's statements have intensified debate, but they do not point to an imminent conflict. Over the next 48 hours, the most probable outcomes are continued diplomacy, media pressure, and strategic signaling. The crisis is real, but it is unfolding slowly, through politics and power, not through weapons.